For it. Call to order, Town of St. John Board of Zoning Appeals for August 21st, 2023. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please have a roll call, John.
Robert Burleson,
Here.
Yolanda Cardona, Drago Popovic,
Here.
Brendan Shuren,
Here.
Mark LaRue,
Here.
Attorney Adam Decker,
Here.
Councilman Liaison Brian Blazek,
Present.
and Town Manager Joe Wizawati's absent.
Thank you very much. Did everyone have an opportunity to review the minutes from the July 17th meeting? And if so, we would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve July 17th, 2023 Board of Zoning Appeal regular meeting minutes.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm abstained since I was not present at the meeting. Next on the agenda, 2023-11, special exception from St. John MC 24-342 in sequence to St. John MC 24-45 to allow a drive-in restaurant in the US 41 overlay district at 9525 Wicker Avenue, St. John, Indiana. CLD Holdings LLC, applicant owner James Huss and Russ Posen. Please come to the stand.
Good evening. As items A, B, and
saw
C are all about the same development, if it would please the board, I can just run through the entirety of the presentation.
Let's,
If that works.
Mr. Decker, what's your recommendation on that? Should we take item by item, or you want to let him go through the entire presentation? What's the best option for us?
So, Mr. Chair, you have discretion to consider a presentation, but I do think the individual requests should be taken individually, not as a whole.
My feeling as well, so.
I think however you think the meeting might be basically understood by the members and the members of the public that are here. So that's really up to you, Mr. President.
Yeah, I'd prefer, I understand you want to give us the whole presentation, but let's take it item by item.
Okay.
Attack those, and then, you know, your last piece, I think, is probably going to be your biggest
Yes, it was.
presentation, so let's save that for that portion of it.
At its core, the special exception we are requesting is for a type of drive-in restaurant in the US 41 overlay district, which does require a special exception. The item that we related to the special exception, it's a Chipotle restaurant, which, as it relates to that special exception, as the Plan Commission has been told previously, the drive-in, the drive-through, you call it, is quite different from a McDonald's or a Burger King or an Arby's, in that Chipotle's have what they would like to call a Chipotlane, is the trademark, in that their drive-throughs do not allow a customer to drive up, place an order, pay, and then get their food, as would be a traditional drive-through. The Chipotlane is 100% digital. A customer has to purchase and pay from their phone, and they're only coming to Chipotle to pick up their food. They're wildly popular. 500 plus of these have been installed since November 2022 nationwide. From a business side, they're great. From a municipality side, they're also great. Because there's only those two steps, what it basically means is that a daily average queue is only two cars. 4 cars or less, 98% of the day. Beyond 4 cars, only 2% of the day. In the driving lane, there's space for 7 cars. There is an additional 7 cars worth of space in the parking lot. So the negative aspects of having a drive-through and the vehicle stacking is almost turned to zero. So I think as far as a special exception, this is a great idea.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board members regarding this special exception request from our petitioner?
How'd you guys come about this area to choose this location versus something that would accommodate this a lot easier?
Corey, you want to jump in?
Let's take the exception by exception. This is the first one. Again,
Okay.
that's down the road. For this
Nice, second
item
one.
C. This is pertaining just to the drive-through or Chipotle lane, I'm sorry.
Chipotle.
Lane, sorry. I've seen them, never use them, I just usually walk in, so.
I use them, they go fast.
Ringing
I should add, the average transaction time at a Chipotle is 1/3 the national average across traditional drive-throughs.
Mr. Decker, can you help me with, like, as far as what the overlay district requires, or why they're asking for this exception? We just don't prefer not to have them. I know we've got them up and down 41. What's the main, I guess, language within inside that ordinance?
Well, so the St. John zoning ordinance does not specifically define the term special exception, nor does the Indiana code for that matter. But it's generally thought to be a use of property that's allowed under specified conditions.
I mean, the drive-through portion of it. That's what I'm getting to. Do we have something in the code that says that drive-through? Because I couldn't find it in my information.
Oh, yes, I believe that, right, the proposed use, which basically is restaurant, drive-in restaurant, as opposed to a restaurant without a drive-in, that is classified under our zoning ordinance as a permitted use, but only with a special exception. And so special exceptions are
Okay.
first heard at the Board of Zoning Appeals. As I indicated, it's not defined in the ordinance and it's not defined by state code, but the Board of Zoning Appeals can impose certain conditions
Gotcha.
if that becomes necessary. Ultimately, the board will make a recommendation to the town council. So this is one of those items where the BZA doesn't have final say, but rather will consider the application, and then there will be a vote taken to make either a favorable recommendation or an unfavorable recommendation, or perhaps no recommendation to the town council, who
Oh.
ultimately will have final say whether to approve.
I didn't see that portion of it. I knew that resonated in my mind as what, that came up. I flipped to the wrong page when I was looking at the statement of the facts, so thank you for that. So this is just an unfavorable or unfavorable or no recommendation to town council. They have the final say on this particular special exception.
That's correct. So on this item, yes, that is correct.
Yeah, as
Right now,
well
we're
as
just-
the,
Right now, we're just voting for the special exception.
yeah, and again, yes, again, regarding the drive-through portion of it,
All right, let's make a motion.
just so everyone's clear on what we're talking about here.
All right, do we have to open up to public comment?
No, we got any more questions from the board for these gentlemen?
Nope.
I just want to make sure I see everything here. That's true for the next one as well. More questions? If you'd have a seat for a second, gentlemen, we'll open up for public comment. If anyone's here would like to speak on regard to this petitioner's request, please step up and give us your name and address. And it looks like we have nobody here for that. Is anybody online for that? We don't have,
No.
nobody?
Nobody online.
Okay.
No remonstrances or anything like that?
Nope.
Or, yeah, that's the question. Thank you, Brendan, for reminding me of that. Gentlemen, if you come back up to the podium again. With that said, if no one had any questions, we'd entertain a motion to favorable, unfavorable, or no.
I'm gonna make a
regarding-
favorable motion to special exception, section 24 through 45.
Please read the statement of fact too, Brendan, if
Yep.
you would.
That the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the special exception will not be detrimental or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, and general welfare. The special exception will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purpose already permitted, nor substantially diminish and impair property value within the neighborhood. That the establishment of the special exception will not impede the normal and orderly development of the improvement of the surrounding property for the uses permitted in the district. Adequate measures will be taken to provide ingress and egress so designed as to minimize traffic congestion in the public streets, and the adequate utilities, access road, drainage, and/or necessary facilities will be provided. The adequate measure will not in other respects conform to the applicable regulations of the zoning district in which it is located, and that the special exemption shall be required to comply with reasonable time limitations on the commencement and duration of the special exemption, as well as the holder of rights to the same.
Thank you for that. Any conditions or contingencies you'd like to add to that?
Nope.
Can we please vote for the,
I need a second.
I'm sorry, you get a motion. Can I have a second? Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, number one down. Next is 2023-11A, use variance from St. John MC 24-342 in sequence to SJMC 2445 to allow the use of outdoor seating within the US 41 overlay district at 9525 Wicker Avenue, St. John, Indiana, CLD Holdings, James Huss and Russ Posen.
Yes.
It's you, yes.
As you can see in the illustration, having outdoor seating does require a use variance. We are requesting for a small amount of outdoor seating to be allowed, which can be shown in the area. It's on the front-facing section of the building.
That's pretty much standard with all Chipotles, I think, right, to a degree? Anyone have any questions regarding petitioner's request? I'm looking to see here. I don't see that referenced in this. This is off the next one, I think. Okay. Again, this is a favorable or unfavorable recommendation to the town council. Does anybody have any questions regarding petitioner's request? I know we've approved this in other locations. Is there a main component to this that why we have this special use variance, excuse me, on this? No?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I don't know why that was incorporated into the zoning ordinance.
Okay.
When it was as part of the overlay district.
Okay. Again, I couldn't
It's
locate
simply,
that other.
yeah, it probably a determination when the overlay district was created to not allow outdoor seating based on the
Okay.
objectives that were set forth in the comprehensive plan for the use of the corridor.
Thank you. Any questions for the petitioners? If not, we'll open it for public comment. Gentlemen, sorry, gonna get us some exercise tonight.
Is that closer?
We'll open it for public comment. Anyone have a comment regarding the petitioner's request for outdoor seating this location? We'll close the public comment.
For everybody.
Guys, come on back out again. Thank you.
Do you see it? I don't see it.
You know,
I don't see them either. That's why I asked.
I'm gonna be favorable, so I'll do it.
So, there is, what are you looking for, though?
This, the language for this one.
Yeah, I didn't see it in there. Is there any other questions for the petitioners? I'd entertain a motion for favorable or unfavorable or no.
I'll make a motion for favorable. From STJMC 24-342, STJMC 24-45, to allow the use of outdoor seating within the U.S. Overlay District at 9525 Wicker Avenue, St. John. And then I'll read this.
You need a second.
Hold on, I have to read
Oh,
it.
no, you got
Finding
it.
facts.
Never mind.
That the established maintenance and operation of the special exception will not be detrimental and to or endanger the public health, safety, morals,
I
comfort.
think you're in the wrong one.
Sharon,
You're in the wrong one.
Sorry.
that's okay. This is not a special exception.
Use
this-
variance.
Yeah, this is a use variance.
Use variance, gotcha. What are those ones?
That's the second one. It's labeled BZA 2023
Gotcha.
11A on the top.
Approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, and general welfare of the community. The use and the value of the area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. The need for a variance will arise from some condition peculiar to the property, which will not arise from some condition peculiar to the property. The applicant did establish that strict application of the terms of the ordinance would constitute an unnecessary hardship if applied to the property, and the petitioner has established the approval does not interfere substantially with the concept plan of the town of St. John.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next on the agenda, 2023-11B, developmental variance from SJMC 24-345A to SJMC 2346, SJMC 24-346 2, SJMC 24-346-4, SJMC 24-46-5, SJMC 24-346-6, SJMC 24-347B, SJMC 24-15C 1 and 3, SJMC 24-525A 1 and 2, SJMC 24-225A and 3, SJMC 24-225C1, SJMC 24-525C4, SJMC 24-525B, D, SJMC 24-526C and E, SJMC 24-519, SJMC 24-525F, SJMC 24-525G, SJMC 24-555 E1A, SJMC 24-555 E2A, and SJMC 24-355 A1, to develop a parcel within the US 41 outlet overlay district that is 0.93 acres in size, 1.03 acres less than 2 acre minimum. To develop a parcel within the US 41 overlay district whose longest axis is the 2 acre minimum, to develop the parcel within the US 41 overlay district whose longest axis is perpendicular to the adjoining highway rather than parallel to the adjoining highway, to allow for a portion of the parking site to be in front of the building within the US 41 overlay district, to allow a rear yard setback to be 15 feet instead of 45 feet from the east neighboring parcel that is currently zoned residential, to develop a parcel within the US 41 overlay district whose parcel width is 43% of its depth, 7% less than the 50% minimum, to build a structure within the US 41 overlay district that is approximately 2,200 square feet of gross floor area, which is 12,800 square feet less than the 1,500 square foot minimum. What's the matter?
You said 1,500,
15,000, excuse me, 15,000 square foot minimum to allow for a proposed parcel coverage of 72%, which is 7% greater than the maximum parcel coverage allowed of 65% to allow parking between the US 41 right-of-way and the front building of line, build to the line of the building, that doesn't sound right, to allow a buffer, it's starting to blur on me here, sorry. Yards of less than 15 feet adjacent to the commercial property and less than 40 feet adjacent to the existing residence, to allow a green belt of less than 30 feet in width, to allow the planting of 3 ornamental trees, 41 shrubs, perennials in lieu of the required 5 shade trees, 3 or more ornamental trees, and 10 shrubs, to allow the developer to not install planting areas equal to the area measuring 25 feet in depth by the width of the front developer, not to, I just read that twice, front of the building plus 20 feet, to allow the planting of 2 shade trees, 18 shrubs and perennials within the parking lot in lieu of 1 shade tree and 5 shrubs for every 9 parking spaces, or not less than 18 trees per acre of the parking, to allow less than 15% of the planting within the rear yard of the extensive shielding vegetation will remain in place at the eastern property line to allow the developer to minimize the greenbelt buffers as reasonable effort has been made to provide side yard landscaping to the extent practicability, to allow the total landscape area to be 7.4% of the project area, 7.6 less than the 15% minimum required, to allow the combined area of the permanent ground, wall, and window signs to be 104.7 square feet, 4.7 square feet above the maximum 100 square feet, to allow for a total of 3 permanent illumination signs when the maximum is 2 permanent signs, and will allow the refuse storage structure to be fully enclosed within the exception of the roof structure at 9525 Wicker Avenue, St. John, Indiana, CLD Holdings, LLC, James Huss and Russ Posen. Take a drink real quick, so.
If it would please the board, I'll give you a quick overview of the project and the tenets of the site layout. Geographically, the parcel is bounded by the American Legion to the north, J&M Golf Shop to the south. We've orientated the driveway for the site directly across from the 95th Avenue intersection, and the site plan is aligned as such. In the event there is redevelopment west of 41 and a signal needs to go there, the site will mesh well with that. As mentioned in the variances we've requested, the parcel size is just under 1 acre, currently zoned C2 in the US 41 overlay district. Adjacent zoning is also C2, C1 across US 41, and C2 to the east or the rear of our property, although it is currently of residential use. As you can see, we are compliant with the town's parking requirements for a site of this kind. While we have requested a variance to put some of them in front of the building. As mentioned in some of the early agenda items, drive-through lane can stack 7 vehicles with potential for 100% more, which should be very adequate for the use given the Chipotle lane. We are proposing our trash enclosure in the rear as out of sight from US 41 as possible. While as can be demonstrated by the amount of variances requested, the site acreage makes it very, very difficult to provide a fully compliant landscaping plan. We do believe our landscaping plan that we have submitted strikes a good balance as far as providing an aesthetically pleasing property within the constraints we have. A very modest signage scheme is proposed, consisting of Chipotle standard 2 on-building signs and a monument sign. We will be proposing underground detention in the rear under the parking lot. And as we've scrolled through, renderings of the building have been provided. It is compliant with the village's architectural ordinances. Exterior construction consists of brick, metal, and ephes. I will I'd be happy to enumerate or go through any of the many variances individually if the board needs or would like to. What I would say is that of the 20 variances we are requesting, 8 of them are bulk variances, 9 landscaping, 2 signage, and 1 other. I would contend that there's very little that we could do related to the bulk or landscaping ordinances that would not come, that compliance with one would not come at the expense of the other. By being in the US 41 overlay district, the base parcel size and all the numbers that that section of the code is developed around is a minimum 2-acre site. So just by virtue of having these parcels in the town that are under 2 acres, I would contend that development of any kind would be requesting similar variances that we are. Of the 2 signage variances as requested, we're only asking for a 4% increase in the variances signage and the ability to have the trash enclosure be roofless, but otherwise completely architecturally compatible with the rest of the building. So while it may seem on paper that we're asking for many, many variances, I would actually, if the code were written differently, specific to a parcel this size, we would be asking for very, very many less. And then before I open up for questions, I would like to touch upon, Plan Commission last week brought up the topic of the right turn lane. Immediately after the meeting, I did further research, which I've shared with town staff since then. While we certainly would not dispute right turn lanes being a good thing, very, very few states dictate numeric requirements of when to and when not to install. Indiana, ironically, is one of the few that does. The only recommendation they have for right turn lanes on a 4-lane road is over a design speed of 50 miles an hour. This segment of US 41 is 35 miles an hour. In the event it was that fast, I did run a volumetric analysis on what traffic we can expect, split it both coming from north-south, and the volume into the site is 1/3 than what it would take to meet a right turn lane warrant. So, I think I've said enough, and we've made you say enough.
Well, I think I said
we'd
more
be-
than you did, quite honestly.
I'd be happy to answer any additional questions.
Yeah, as far as, taking each one individually, this whole variance is one big piece. So as far as walking through each individual, item, would come down to, in my mind anyway, those particular that really are, in my mind, are outside of the what we would normally would approve, okay? So, the one that jumps out at me right off the bat, and you mentioned it too, was the size of the lot. It being under an acre, when we require 2, that space, it was there before, it was a real estate agency, I believe, for years. Been there, I've been here 30-plus years, it's always was there. So grandfathered in, what have you. I think that the track is too small for what you're proposing, quite honestly. That's just my opinion. I'm sure the rest of my board members will have their own opinion on that. There's lots of things in here that I think that trouble me, and know that you're trying to do your best to meet those recommendations. I'm having a tough time with some of them, quite honestly, when I look at all these things that you're asking for, from the foliage to the signage to, all these different items, I'm having trouble with, but I'll leave it to my other board members too to ask you questions as to what issues that they come to mind.
My question would be for John or Adam, if it wasn't Chipotle, another business come in, would they have the same problems, being only 0.93 of an acre?
Yeah, because, the parcel is locked in with all the other parcels next to it, so there's really no way that, aside from buying everything and making a one-lot subdivision of the 2 acres, there's really no way that anything could go on here without that variance.
Yeah. So I guess my question would be, does St. John want it vacant till someone buys it and adds, neighboring properties to make it
I
bigger.
don't think you approve it, but it's just based on that fact, though, that, or, you're trying to get through, make
Well, and
that
I-
fit to their need. I just,
Right, depends on the nature of the business,
I
right?
think that's a big qualifier as well. That's just,
So but another business that could come in could fit into this.
Well, it would still need all the variances from the size, because the length of it perpendicular to 41 is not gonna change no matter who goes there. The acreage isn't gonna change no matter who goes there. The width being, which one is it?
Other businesses may not have the requirements that we're asking as far as the parking, them rearranging that. All those other items, they could still do something with inside there that they wouldn't have all these variances in them.
No,
That's-
I think-
That's my point to that.
No, but I think the overlay district is 2 acres or more.
Right, I understand that. That's just one piece of it though, Bob. There's
Yeah.
there's a number of other items on this list that, are not in step with our ordinances. So there's just not just that one piece.
Well, if I may, Mr. Chair, so you're correct that the prior use was grandfathered, a legal non-conforming use at the time the US Highway 41 district was adopted with the last zoning ordinance, which was in 2009. So that business, the real estate company, was allowed to continue to operate. Anytime there's a change in the use, that typically is what triggers then requirement that you go back before, the town to have that alternative use approved. Whether it's, the use proposed by this applicant or any other, potential use.
Right.
So, in my opinion, I think that in the future, as John indicated, any alternative use that's proposed for this site is going to have to seek a variance from the development standards because of the 2 acre minimum requirement in
Right.
the US 41 overlay district. So,
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on that. I'm just saying that there's not just that one component to this developmental variance. There's just a long list of other items that need to be done.
But it's a huge,
I
but it's a huge requirement. If
Yeah.
you don't have 2 acres, you gotta get all these other variances.
Yeah, and any business that's gonna come in there will be a business that requires no parking, or very minimal parking, which, what benefit is that to the town? I'd rather get something in there that town residents can enjoy. So therefore, you're gonna have multiple variance requests for anything halfway decent in there.
Any questions for the petitioners, other than our conversation here?
I was just wondering how you came upon this site and not something that would accommodate this, your situation a little more.
I could say that the 41 corridor is a very sought-after corridor. My name is Corey Dedamore from CLD Holdings.
Can you identify who you are? I'm sorry, because since.
I'm the owner-developer of the land.
And you are?
Your name?
Corey Dedamore
Thank you.
from CLD Holdings.
Thank you.
This corridor is very sought after. It's very landlocked of being able to find any available land to acquire. When this came up on the market, I had to jump after it pretty fast to even get it. I've even talked with my neighbors to the north. They had recently bought the property, and finding a specific site that a national corporate company like Chipotle looks for has to be on frontage road. They need to be in the retail districts, and this is as close as I could find of one property that actually came up. Most of all of our QSR developments that we do are typically 1.1 acres and below for these specific sites. This is a very pricey piece of dirt to even buy, to even get that. So me taking on 2 acres plus would never be able to afford, and these tenants would never be able to pay to even be in that expensive of land. So that's why we're typically looking for hard corners at 1 acre or below. which you'll see across the country. Is pretty much every Chipotle or Popeyes or any of these national brands are all that size of acreage. And that building was vacant when I did purchase it. The business had closed
Yes.
and moved to another location, so it's not like I just bought it and
No, we,
yeah.
most people in town are aware.
I wasn't
of that.
pushing them out for.
Yeah, no. We're not suggesting
Yeah.
that whatsoever. I guess, from my point of view, we should probably I don't know, what's your thoughts? Tackle them one by one? 'Cause otherwise, it's just kind of muddy, I think, overall.
And I will say on the signage, there is a current pylon sign there now that is probably the only thing left on the site that I have not demolished, which I was going to do later on in the development. This is not, I'm not trying to go back for a pylon high sign. I'm going back for a low monument sign. So I'm trying to kind of help the corridor as well there.
I think the ordinance requires a low monument sign, correct, John? Doesn't allow for a certain height, only to a certain height.
I believe, yeah.
But, yeah, I didn't- Working bone.
I do know the monument sign is authorized for the site. The variance is on the sign count, not the monument sign.
Not the monument sign, okay, then I guess we don't need to tackle that one. We're talking about overall signage, that would incorporate altogether the monument sign as well as the signage on the building itself.
Correct.
So, in here somewhere, it tells me what that was, and I'm trying
It
to
is
find.
104 square feet is the combined area of the 2 on-buildings and the 1 monument sign. Ordinance.
Altogether, 104 for all
Altogether.
3 of them?
Their combined area is 104. The sum total.
Here we go, 104.7. So it's just a slightly above the 100 square foot. So, okay. Let's,
So you want to go down through each one of these?
I think that's the only way we're gonna be able to tackle this, is you can't eat a steak in one bite. We're gonna have to take this bite by bite, quite honestly.
Okay, well,
So I think the first piece is the tract of land. We've already discussed that. If there are any questions we have for them, we'll tackle that. Otherwise, the next is gonna be, and
So-
it's is all,
that's what I'm getting at. So you're going to ask for a public hearing for every one of those, do the whole process?
no, we're gonna get that at the very end.
Okay.
Is that, you're giving me a look, Adam, what's
No,
that?
no, I'm just listening to what you're saying.
Okay.
So I
So-
don't think you've conducted the public hearing.
I know,
for-
we haven't gone that, so, I
Variances
mean,
for the
from the
development
standpoint,
standards.
we're still in that same development variance. So I guess my question to you, Adam, is if we tackle this piece by piece, do we have to do a, public comment on each one of these? Or as one whole variance?
So it's a single agenda item. I
Right.
think it would be appropriate for you to conduct the public hearing, so invite the public to make comments on any of the, proposed development variances that are being sought. And then close the hearing and then consider those variances on a matter by matter. I think it's
Okay,
appropriate as you
okay,
suggested.
all right, gotcha.
Do they have to take a seat every time?
Well,
Can they just wait?
Now you're doing it all at once,
no, he's
the
just,
public
For
hearing.
the public hearing, I think that can be done.
Yeah.
It's a
Okay.
single
Okay, okay.
agenda.
so you're suggesting we do the public hearing now and then go through each item, since we've already read the statement, what they're looking for?
Mhm.
So I understand
Yes.
correctly, okay.
Yeah.
So is there anyone here, just be you step to
So
the
now-
side, don't sit down for a second.
Okay,
We'll
thanks.
we'll be having you up in a minute.
For public comment, is anyone here would like to have, speak regarding this petitioner's request? If not, you got gentlemen, if you could come up to the podium, sir, and tell us your name and address.
Yeah, my name's Michael Bovad. I live at 9291 West 103rd Place. I would just like to say that the input that I have from citizens in the community, I think they would be extremely supportive of this. And I just want to go on record that I support it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike.
Is there anyone else here that'd like to add to that? If not, we'll close public.
Nope, you got one.
One more?
Yeah.
Step to the podium, sir. Let's know who you are and your address, please.
Marty Ziglowitz, I'm the building manager at our American Legion Post right next door. The only question I have is, you got the turn lane coming south. That would be new turn lane installed?
I don't believe there's a turn lane going to be installed there, sir. There's already one there, it looks like.
No, this turn lane right here,
Headed south. Yeah.
that would have to be installed, correct? I don't think we have a turn lane there.
I would think you would know since your building sits in front of it. I honestly don't know that there is a turn lane there.
He's gonna have to talk to
There's
the
one.
mic, Jason's.
Sir, come back up to the podium.
We just had a big accident over there before we got here. That's all I
Is there a
wanted.
turn lane there or no?
Okay,
Question.
Trying to look now.
thank you.
We can ask the engineer.
We're looking at it.
Any other public questions, comments?
That's gotta be existing. I mean, they're not proposing anything on 41.
Have a rendering of that. Gentlemen, if you come back up to the podium, please.
If I could jump in on the last topic, there is.
Yeah, please do.
I couldn't particularly tell you why specifically, other than for the driveway that was there prior, but that southbound left turn lane is existing.
That's how it shows.
It's already there.
Yeah.
It's already there?
Correct.
Here, Mark. Here's your southbound driveway. This is the
Gee, I drive it every day. You would think I'd remember, but
This American Legion, so that, it's not really there.
Well, it's.
'Cause there's a turn lane going into 95th by the liquor store and all that.
Well, it's underneath this Wicker Avenue.
That's the left-hand
Oh,
turn
that's the
lane.
left turn? Oh,
Yeah.
that is, right?
So
Okay.
it's not really.
It's on the screen now.
Thank you. It's not really there. This is it, right here, isn't it?
Is this the property?
Yes, this is the
Yeah, that's the
property.
property.
There's,
So this is a left-hand turn lane to go into,
they got one here.
yeah, it's going up
but that,
to the American Legion, right?
that goes to the American I don't know, that's kind of
Yeah,
Makes
but
a
the-
point.
But the entrance is gonna be here, so you
so
can.
we're
use
moving
it.
the entrance from where?
No, the.
No, the entrance is south.
Yeah.
We're right at the 95th.
Yeah.
Right
The turn
across.
lane.
It's aligned up with this.
Okay, so you're,
So we
we're gonna
made it
get
in
rid of
line with the
that
95th.
current entrance.
Yeah,
The
that's,
current entrance is being moved
That's what I'm asking. You're gonna move it north?
north.
Yeah,
So
they're
Okay.
in
lining
line
it
with
up
the
with this.
intersection.
Yeah.
I didn't, yeah.
Alright,
so
so
that's
you
good
can
ren-
use this.
In
rendition.
case
So
there
that's-
was
In
a
case there ever
future
future light or
stoplight or
anything,
something,
yeah.
I just lined it up with
Yep,
that.
yep,
oh, that makes
okay.
sense.
Yep.
Makes sense. Thank you for that.
Yep.
That clarification. Okay,
All right, one by one.
yep.
All
I
right.
guess is the only way we're gonna be able to tackle this. And we discussed the tract, the access, that's all part of that same, in my mind, it's the same. It's just multiple
Okay, well,
variances,
but-
or, I'm sorry, ordinances inside of both of these. So I guess the first two.
All right, well, I'm gonna make a motion to approve the minimum track size. So after,
Oh,
I just gotta
again,
read
we're not
this.
making a motion, that's the whole piece though, Brendan. We're not gonna,
Oh, I thought you were going through each
I
one.
thought you were doing each
we're
one.
going through each one, but we're not gonna approve each one, I don't think, right?
Then why are we going through each
Help me
one?
with this.
Yeah.
We've never done one this large before.
If we don't go through each one, then what's the
I wanna
point then?
I just can't get clarification. So for each piece, for each section of this, do we want to vote to approve or not approve? Or do we want to go, I mean, if you approve, are you not approving the entirety of item C?
No, my recommendation is that the board consider each separate variance application,
Okay,
which is each of the items that are set forth
Prove that, prove that.
in the agenda, but also set forth in the written materials that were presented by DVG, which basically identifies each of the variances that are being requested. My recommendation is that you do that separately, you consider each of them separately, that you not consider them all as a whole at the same time.
okay, so then when we get through all of them, is there another vote on the entirety of that?
No, so-
Okay, that's why I want to clarify.
Hypothetically, all right, so hypothetically, tonight, I'm just going to say, this is completely, hypothetical. The board may approve 7 of the requests and deny the remaining requests.
Okay,
And so that's what the applicant is left with in
Gotcha.
terms of what the Board of Zoning Appeals has considered as far as
Okay.
those applications. So I don't think there has to be anything done at the conclusion of all of those specific
we just have
variance
never done one
requests.
that had this many exceptions in the past, so that's why my head's a little swimming here with all this information going through. Okay, so, first one, track size, minimum track size of 2 acres, and they're at .93 in a proposed parcel. Any questions related to that for the petitioners, or will entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve. Approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. Development conforms to the character and the uses of the adjacent properties within the commercial area. The use and the value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Development conforms to character and uses of the adjacent properties within the commercial area. The strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical applications of the use of the property due to the size of the lot.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
John, will you please do a roll call vote?
Yep. Robert Burleson,
Yes.
Drago Popovic,
Yes.
Brendan Sheeran,
Yes?
Mark LaRue.
No. Next, bulk requirements, longest property access shall be parallel to the adjoining highway, section 24-346. Parcel's longest access is perpendicular to the adjoining highway. Parcel was subdivided prior to the creation of 41 overlay district and complies with legacy exception outlined in section 24-346 4A. Questions for the petitioners or a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve. Approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, and general welfare of the community. Development conforms to the character and the use of adjacent properties within the commercial area. The use and the value of the area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected substantially adverse manner. Development conforms to the character and the use of adjacent properties within the commercial area. The strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property due to the size and the orientation of the lot.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All, roll call vote, please.
Robert Burleson,
Yes.
Drago Popovic,
Yes.
Brendan Sheeran,
Yes.
Mark LaRue.
No. Next is bulk requirements, parking shall be located in rear and if necessary to the side of the building. Their portions of the site will be proposed in the front of the building. Parcel was subdivided prior to the creation of 41 overlay district. 115-2009 complies with legacy exception outlined in section 224-346 4A.
Now, I'm assuming I know the answer to this question, but there's no way to get the parking requirements you need for this size of a building all on the back.
That is correct.
just can't be done with this.
Essentially, the bulk requirements we're marching through right now, the landscaping requirements, they're all intermingled. If we've maximized the site to where if more landscaping was required, it would be at the expense of parking. If more parking was required, it'd come at the expense.
Are you at the minimum parking requirement now for the
You're right on the
square
line.
footage?
Right on the line.
And these specialized parking spaces are requirements from Chipotle for the 4 in the front of the building, and you'll see some pickup.
That's part of the
Yeah,
Chipotle
it's part
standards
of
as
their
well?
whole standards, and same with the outdoor seating, things like that.
Okay.
As far as being a Chipotle requirement, I really don't care about that. I'm working about what the aesthetics of the property looks like more than anything else. As far as the planning commission go through with you guys on your drawings and the proposals that you guys have as far as all the foliage, the trees and bushes and et cetera?
Yes, the Plan Commission did not have the landscaping plan at our first presentation. They did have the landscaping plan in advance of the meeting we had last week.
And any other recommendations that they provided to you guys?
No, we other than the turn lane that I touched on before, the Plan Commission appeared
So they
very
approved,
supportive.
planning commission approved this?
We haven't done anything yet.
Oh. Curious. How come to me?
Now, it's nice
Sounds
to
fair.
see 10 by 20 parking lot stalls.
And
I agree.
while it's not displayed on this sheet, is the landscaping plan in the packet?
Yes.
You scroll to that. So speaking of the front parking, we do have a fairly nice entrance and shrubs in the front yard, which is, I believe we're very much maximizing the space to make the site look as good as it can.
Okay. Any other questions for the petitioners?
What about the landscaping in the, in the back area at least?
The rear area is where our stormwater detention will be going. It will be pipes and aggregate underground and then outletting to the southeast property corner where there's a catch basin. There is, I think I have a picture in the packet as well. If not, I had it for Plan Commission. The rear lot line, which is very advantageous considering there is a residential use in back. There is truly full shielding vegetation that's there today. It was not demolished when the site was cleared. It remains today. It will remain after the building is built. Speaking to the rear yard landscaping, essentially, it's on the lot line and it's already there.
And it will remain after the storm's in, the detention?
Yes.
I do not plan on touching any more of, any of those trees in the rear.
That backs up there.
No. Sweats.
Okay. Okay, so, any other questions regarding the parking portion of this, request? If not, entertain a motion.
Make a motion for parking in the rear. Approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. Development conforms to character and use of adjacent properties within this commercial area. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantial adverse manner. Development conforms to character and use of adjacent properties within this commercial use. That strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property due to the size and orientation of the lot.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Next on this request, bulk requirements, side and rear yards. Rear yard setback shall be 45 feet when adjacent to any of the residential use or zone. 15 feet is requested. The proposed dumpster enclosure setback is 15.5. Rear east neighbor parcel is currently residential, but zone C2 in the US 41 overlay district. If the east parcel converts to commercial use in the future, the proposed 15 feet would then meet the required setback. Any questions regarding the rear yard setback and the dumpster location? Is that back there, I'm gonna guess?
Yeah.
Yeah, back here.
Any questions for petitioners from the board? If you went past it, John. There we go. So what's back there behind them? I don't,
It is a rather deep residential lot that is zone C2. There is a considerable, I would estimate, far more than 50 feet from rear lot line of that residential use parcel to the home. So it's a very generous backyard. It's zone C2 today, so in theory down the road. But the code does make mention of that if there's a residential use, it falls to the residential requirements, which is the reason we are requesting the variance. If that parcel was commercial use, we would not be asking for that.
yes, yeah. Okay,
I know it is. It's set way back.
Any questions for petitioners or a motion?
I'm gonna make a motion to approve, section 24-34, 3462. Approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. Development conforms to the character and the use of the adjacent properties within the commercial area. The use and the value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Development conforms to the character and the uses of adjacent properties within the commercial area. The strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties of the use of the property due to the size of the lot and the result in the inability to meet various other requirements.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Next, US 41 bulk requirement, minimum parcel width. The parcel width shall equal or exceed the amount which is 1/2 the depth of the parcel, section 24-346. The parcel is 34% of the parcel depth. Parcel was subdivided prior to creation of the US 41 overlay district on 1/15/2009 and complies with the legacy exception outlined in section 24-346 4A. Questions for the petitioners on this particular variance request? Not. A motion would be great.
I'll make a motion to approve the parcel depth section 24-346 4. Approval not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, and general welfare of the community. Development conforms to the character and the use of the adjacent properties within the commercial area. The use and the value of the area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Development conforms to the character and the uses of adjacent properties within this commercial area. The strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties to the use of the property.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
That's all four?
Yeah.
Someone said aye?
Yeah, I was,
I didn't hear.
I was brain dead.
Next, US 41 bulk requirement, minimum gross floor area. The minimum gross floor area shall be 15,000 square feet. Section 24-346-5, approximately 2,200 square feet of gross floor area is proposed. Sorry, 2,200, as I said 22,000, my apologies. 2,200 square foot of gross is proposed. The site does not allow for this requirement to be met without violating a number of other requirements. Mr. Decker, do you know what those requirements are? The site does not allow the requirement to be met without violating a number of other requirements?
I know it wasn't asked of me, but would you mind if I jump in?
Sure.
For instance, if we had acres for 3,000 and change square feet, fitting a building that was 1/3 of our site acreage, just judging by that picture, we'd have 1/3 of it be the structure. We would never be able to meet parking requirements. That's just one example of
Okay.
what I was alluding to.
How much seating are you gonna have in this building?
I think they have in the front of house 20 to 30 seats. I mean, it's the prototypical design.
They're getting smaller every time I go.
They're
in
getting
one.
smaller, yeah. It's more about production counters behind it and, that Chipotle lane area to the left. When you walk in is a whole designated service counter, so there's less and less.
Any other questions for petitioners or a motion?
Motion to approve SEC 24-346-5. Approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. Development conforms to character and use of adjacent properties within this commercial area. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantial adverse manner. Development conforms to character and use of adjacent properties within this commercial area. The strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property due to the size of the lot and result in the inability to meet numerous other requirements.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Next, US 41 bulk requirement, maximum parcel and density. The maximum parcel coverage shall be 65%. Section 24-346-6. The proposed parcel coverage is 72%. The acreage of this site does not allow for requirement to be met without violating other numerous requirements. Any questions regarding that portion? Not. Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve section 24-3466. Approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, and general welfare of the community. Development conforms to the character and the use of the adjacent properties within the commercial area. The use of the value of the area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Development conforms to the character and the use of the adjacent properties within the commercial area. The strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties of the use of the property.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Next, parking requirements. US 41 parking requirements. There should be no parking allowed between US 41 right-of-way and the front of the building line of the building. Section 24-347B. This parcel does not allow for this requirement to be met without violating numerous other requirements. Any other questions regarding this topic? If not, let's have them, we can entertain a motion.
Oh, we already talked about this. I'll make a motion to approve section 24-347B. Approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, and the general welfare of the community. Development conforms to the character and the use of the adjacent properties within the commercial area. The use and the value of the area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Development conforms to the character and the uses of adjacent properties within the commercial area. The strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Landscaping, buffer yard shall be 15 feet from commercial zoning districts and 40 feet next to existing residents, section 24-519C1 and 3. Less than 10 feet is provided in the front of the property. Current existing development to the north and south have similar buffer yards less than 15 feet. As referenced in our variance request related to the minimum tract size and gross floor area, this site acreage makes accommodating the complement buffer yard prohibitively difficult. Accommodating a 15-foot buffer yard would come at the expense of providing adequate levels of parking and or overall utility to the property. In the rear yard, extensive vegetation screening exists at the property line. Dumpster enclosure encroaches onto the 40-foot buffer by buffer yard by 22 feet. The rear parking area encroaches to the 40-foot buffer yard by 6 feet. Any questions regarding this? I think we've talked about this in the past already.
We got
But
this.
questions or a motion, please?
Motion to approve section 24-519C1 and 3. Approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. Development conforms to character and uses of adjacent properties within this commercial area. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in this variance will not be affected in a substantial adverse manner. Development conforms to character and use of adjacent properties within this commercial area. That strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property due to the size of the lot and result in the inability to meet various other requirements.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Green belt. The green belt shall be a minimum of 30 feet in width. Section 24-525A1 and 2. Approximately 13 feet is provided from the US 41 row line. Proposed parking encroaches onto the green belt. Accommodating a full 30-foot green belt would come at the expense of providing adequate levels of parking and or overall utility of the property. The proposed dumpster and the proposed less Let me start it over again. The proposed dumpster is proposed less than 3 feet from the rear yard setback. Relocation of the dumpster and enclosure to allow the proposed footprint shift eastward and not expand the buffer yard will come at an expense of the availability parking and/or site circulation. Any questions for the petitioners regarding this request or a motion?
Yeah, you have a 28.5-foot drive-through area in the front of the building between parkings. Is it,
As far as the width?
yeah. Couldn't that be,
East to west.
You mean from north to south?
what's that?
From,
It's east to west, right?
oh, yes, excuse me. No,
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with you,
I mean,
yes.
that's above minimum.
It is.
I mean, wouldn't it be more advantageous to us as a town to put that, give that us a little more green to the front of 41?
I
And
would
shrink that?
otherwise agree with you. That was a very recent change related to accommodating the design vehicle. As much of the challenges we've had meeting the ordinances, having a site this large, it is very difficult to let a delivery truck in, and that was a change we made. That's the reason that.
So the
that is-
delivery truck can go there, but then it can make the 24 as it turns to go head to the east?
The,
So it's going south and then turns
no,
to the
that,
east?
per Chipotle National, the vehicle will actually enter off hours when the business is closed. It's going to come opposite the traffic flow. It needs that width to be able to get out back onto 41. But that is the reason that is over-engineered.
I mean, he'll have that. I mean, you're going up to the, that's not even a curb there, that's a striping. The curb is another 2-3 feet to the east, northeast. I mean, he'll have that. I mean, I'd rather see it in the green space to the front of 41, if we have it to spare.
Speak away from them.
We will certainly be submitting an exhibit with our site plan demonstrating why those lines are where they are and why we're putting down that 28.5 feet. Unfortunately, I don't have those with you, but I think if you saw them, it would paint the picture much better.
So the delivery truck will come in and it'll stay on the north side of the,
Correct.
Of
When
the lot?
when deliveries will happen exclusively off hours when no vehicles are parked in the lot, and yes, the WB50 will come into the lot and then go on the
north side.
north side opposite the arrows, and then loop in the back. And in order to make that kind of S curve back onto 41, that's the reason why that throat is wider there.
So it needs, to make that S curve, it needs that 28.5 feet plus the extra, whatever, the 4 feet width of the striping.
Yes, it does.
So
See-
they'll need 32.5 feet to make that turn.
Yes, effectively. With it
Seems
wiggling
like
out.
it,
That'd
seems like
be my only
anymore,
point.
seems like anymore you see cars entering one way and going all the way around, looping all the way around,
Which-
and then exit out, not two-way traffic like how you show it. Usually, the traffic movement is one way,
And
all the
traffic,
way, looped all the way around the building and then come out on the north side and then exit out. I don't
Which is-
usually
which is-
see.
which is more than likely how this site will operate. Unfortunately, without that wider frontage, that's just the only way to get a WB50 in and out of this site. Given its, obviously, as we've already touched on, the limited north to south dimension of the property.
See what I'm saying, Brandon?
Yeah, but I mean, even with that, then that gives us a little smaller footprint here and more green space. I mean, I'm just trying to maximize the green, I'm not, I mean, you don't
No,
have
I-
anything to show me, I'm gonna take your word, but
Yeah, and I
just
believe
give
me,
me as much
we-
green space as I can on 41 and still keep the exact Chipotle you guys want.
Yeah, to be quite honest, that was truly one of the last things we were locking down, and we plotted it down to the foot, and unfortunately, we did need to widen that
And
out.
that's just, so you're telling me that's as tight as you could possibly get it with the trucks you're coming in with them?
I believe so, yes.
Any other questions for the petitioners regarding this request on the green belt? Not, entertain a motion.
Motion to approve section 24-525A1 and 2. Approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. Development conforms to character and use of adjacent properties within this commercial area. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantial adverse manner. Development conforms to character and use of adjacent properties within this commercial area. That strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property due to the size of the lot and result in the inability to meet various other requirements.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll go with aye.
We will aye.
I'm gonna take your word for it.
Thank you.
Again, another green belt base planting unit for each of the 100 linear foot increments, 5 shade trees, 3 ornamental trees, and 10 shrubs. Section 24-525A and 3. The limited site acreage makes it adherence to this portion very difficult, and reasonable effort has been made to provide green belt landscaping to the extent practical while accommodating vehicular site distance. Provided landscaping plan enhances the appearance of the site by providing 3 ornamental trees and 41 shrubs accompanied by perennials. Any questions for the petitioners on this particular variance request? If not, we entertain a motion.
Motion to approve section 24-525A3. Approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. Development conforms to character and use of adjacent properties within this commercial area. Use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantial adverse manner. Development conforms to character and use of adjacent properties within this commercial area. That strict application of the terms of zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next, planting area shall equal an area measuring 25 feet in depth by width of the front of the building plus 20 feet to extend 10 feet on both sides. Shall be installed along the building facade that faces US 41, section 24-525C1. The limited site acreage makes adherence to this portion very difficult. Installation of planting areas along the front of the building facade would negatively impact the site ability to adhere to other important code requirements. Any questions for the petitioners regarding this particular variance request? Not a motion. Make a motion, please.
Motion to approve section 24-525C1. Approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. Development conforms to character and use of adjacent properties within this commercial area. The use and value of the adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantial adverse manner. Development conforms to character and use of adjacent properties within this commercial area. That strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property.
A motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next on the agenda, on the on the requests, if an
You want a
approach
glass of water?
What's that?
Do you want a glass of water?
I got one right in front of me. It's not that. If an approach driveway or sidewalk cuts in the planting area, the area displaced by a driveway or sidewalk should be added to the building's perimeter planting. Section 24-525C4. The limited site acreage makes adherence to this portion very, that's not correct, very installation. Planting areas along the building perimeter would negatively impact the site's ability to adhere to other important code requirements. Any questions regarding this variance request? If not, take a,
Motion to approve section 24-525C4. Approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, and general welfare of the community. Development conforms to the character and the use of the adjacent properties within the commercial area. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Development conforms to the character and uses of the adjacent properties within the commercial area. Strict applications of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties of the property.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Planting within parking lots, a minimum of 1 shade tree and 5 shrubs should be planted within each parking lot for every 9 parking spaces provided, or not less than 18 trees per acre of parking, section 24-525D. This code section would require 3 shade trees, 15 shrubs be planted within the parking area. Islands are limited given the site area, and expansion would result in the inability to meet parking count requirements. A reasonable effort to include landscaping within the site's parking islands has been made and shown in the landscaping plan. Our plan proposed 2 shade trees, 18 shrubs, and be installed within the parking lot accompanied by perennials. Any questions regarding this request? Or a motion?
Make a motion to approve section 24-525D. Approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, and general welfare of the community. Development conforms to the character and the use of the adjacent properties of the commercial area. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Development conforms to the character and the use of adjacent properties within the commercial area. A strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties of the property.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Side yard and rear yard landscaping planting shall be provided at a minimum of 15% of the side yard and rear yard, section 24-525 C and E. Extensive shielding vegetation remains in place at the eastern property line, rear of the site. Plantings are provided on greater than 15% of the side yard. Any questions for the petitioners on this, or a motion?
Motion for approval for section 24-525CE. Approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. Development conforms to character and use of the adjacent properties within this commercial area. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be
Can you put on
affected
the
in a
landscaping plan?
substantial adverse manner. Development conforms to character and use of adjacent properties within this commercial area. That strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will not result in practical difficulties in the use of the property.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, greenbelt buffers. Greenbelt buffers shall be established within the required side and rear yard pursuant to section 24-519, section 24-525F. The limited site acreage makes adherence to this portion very difficult, and reasonable efforts has been made to provide a side yard landscaping to the extent practicable as shown in the site landscaping plan. Any questions for the petitioners or a motion?
Motion to approve section 24-525F. Approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare. The community development conforms to character and use of adjacent properties within this commercial area. Use and value of the adjacent property adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantial adverse manner. Development conforms to character and use of adjacent properties within this commercial area. The strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Next, total landscaping required inclusive the green belt, the planting adjacent to the building, the green belt buffers, planting strips, and the planting within the parking lots. A minimum of 15% of the project area shall be landscaped, section 24-525G. The limited site acreage makes this adherence to this portion very difficult, and reasonable efforts have been made to provide side yard landscaping to the extent practical, as shown in the site's landscaping plan. The proposed landscaping area project site is approximately 3,000 square feet, or 7.4% of the project area. Any questions for the petitioners or a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Section 24-525G. Approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, and general welfare of the community. Development conforms to the character and the use of adjacent properties within the commercial area. The use and the value of the area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Development conforms to the character and the use of the adjacent properties within the commercial area. Strict application of the terms of the zone variance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Next, signage. Total gross the gross combined area of the permanent ground, wall, and window signs on the zoning lot shall not exceed 100 square feet. Section 24-555E1A, combined area of the proposed monument sign, 1 wall signs, 2 is 104.7 square feet. So we're just over just a slight amount on that. Any questions or motion, please?
Just curious, between the three signs, how come you couldn't just get that down to the 100?
Chipotle has a national account sign vendor that it has these sized per these prototype buildings, and they had delivered them to us with this, and they maximize what they can for the sizing of the space that's there, and
So all the new Chipotles are on the, doing the exact same size?
same exact size. I guess it could be how they calculate their square footage around a letter, or different things. But
Shave a little bit off the C.
yeah, something, but you might get half a burrito bowl instead. I don't know. So, but we didn't think that we were trying to go for more on the rear or anything like that. It was just their prototype standard. And
I'm just getting that it's one less thing we'd have to read.
I owe you guys Chipotle for sure for all of this. So.
And I apologize for not subtracting the space in the O.
Yeah, there you go.
But
Okay,
we did have the architect provide 3D renderings that show the signage on there. It's
Okay, I mean, it's not that much, so I'll make a motion to approve Section 24-55E1A. Approval not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, general welfare of the community. Development conforms to the character and the use of the adjacent properties within the commercial area. The use and the value of the area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Development conforms to the character and the use of adjacent properties within the commercial area. That strict application of the terms of the ordinance will not result in practical difficulties in the use of the property.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Number of signs total. Each business shall be permitted a maximum of 2 permanent signs, not including the permanent window signs. Section 24-555E2A. This property proposed a total of 3 permanent illumination signs, 1 monument sign, and 2 wall signs. Signage markups are provided. Any questions regarding this or a motion?
Motion to approve Section 24-555E2A. Approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. Development conforms to character and use of adjacent properties within this commercial area. Use and value of the adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantial adverse manner. Development conforms to character and use of adjacent properties within this commercial area. That strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will not result in practical difficulties in the use of the property due to the size of the lot and result in the inability to meet various other requirements.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Believe it or not, this is the last one. Other requirements, US 41, other requirements, any accessory building for refuge storage shall be designed to include a roof structure. A refuge storage structure is fully enclosed but does not have a roof. What's the reason for that? You mentioned it about an hour ago. I don't recall what the answer was to that. For not having a roof on the trash. Your septic is gonna be.
They can easily access the dumpster.
Okay.
We've built quite a few retail centers and QSRs that have entrances coming in off the sides, roofs. I mean, how would trucks? They can just and get them out. Yeah, we did put it in the rear of the property, so it was back, and it's the same materials as the facade of the building. So
Okay.
it's decorated and enclosed gates, so you can't see inside.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to make a motion to approve Section 24-345A1. This is the last one, I might read it slowly. Approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, and general welfare of the community. Development conforms to character and uses adjacent to the properties within the commercial area. The use and the value of the area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Development conforms to the character and uses of adjacent properties within the commercial area. That strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will not result in practical difficulties of the property. Boom.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Gentlemen, good luck with your project.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, no, just look around, you owe everyone a burrito. Everyone gets a bowl.
The Chipotle Bowl. The Chipotle Bowl.
Chipotle bowl, yeah,
Make sure
Chipotle
you-
bowl.
Have we done with the comedy routine over there? Okay. Next on the agenda, use variance from SJMC 24-342 in sequence to SJMC 24-45 to allow a medical office use within US 41 Overlay District at 9321 Wicker Avenue, Suite 101, St. John, Indiana. Kara Clark, owner, applicant James Weezer. I think I got it right this time, Jim.
You did.
Weezer and Wiley LLP. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, no problem. If we can share in the Chipotle, we're happy. I introduce myself. I'm Jim Weezer, an attorney with offices on US 30 in Cherville, and next to me is my client, Kara Clark. If I might just approach real quickly and hand you this.
Certainly.
The top document is we updated, or Kara updated her resume, which was previously in your packet, and then the other pages are. For, the other 4 pages are excerpts from a prior BCA meeting, and we're here tonight to request the use variance and 25 developmental variances. No, not really. But,
We're leaving.
My sense of humor right now, Jim, so.
We're leaving.
But, well, as you know, it's the commercial corridor, and the commercial corridor has a provision that prohibits medical offices. Although it does have provisions that permit hospitals and medical clinics, it prohibits medical offices. To kind of cut through on this and make it easy, Kara, as you could see, is a specialist and is a certified board certified as a pediatric dentist, and she's a Region girl. She's born and raised in Munster, and is back here opening her own practice. She's been here practicing, as you can see, with other dentistry practices in the area, but has decided to strike out on her own now, and has Clark Pediatric Dentistry LLC, and she's the single member owner of that. And she wants to locate in the building that currently houses the Avco restaurant, houses a medical practice already, and houses an orthodontist already. But because the rules require it, we're here, and I just provided you there was in 2018 the medical offices approached to get a use variance similar to what we're requesting now, and I just provided that to you to show that that matter was approved. I'm not suggesting, I agree that each BZA matter is heard on its own merits and its own facts. However, this is the same building, and there's already an accompanying type practice that's located in there. Kara's going to take the bottom floor, about 2,800 square feet, 2,800 square feet in the bottom for her practice. We provided the floor plan. It's a significant investment. She's anxious to begin and to locate here, and we believe meets the criteria. We've provided findings of fact that we believe meet the statutory criteria to authorize her to proceed and to, or at least authorize you to make, we hope, a favorable recommendation to the town council for approval of the use variance as we believe it satisfies the criteria under the statute and under your ordinances and rules and regulations. And we'd be happy to provide any additional information through questions or comments from the public if there are any, and thank you for the opportunity to make the presentation.
Certainly, thank you. Any questions from the board for our petitioners?
Is this on the first floor you're going, or?
First floor.
So across from the restaurant?
Yes.
Okay.
So when I go in there on Sunday and I have to wait for an hour to get a table, where do I sit now?
Come on in. Do you have any
What
children?
do I do on my Sunday? You know, if it's raining outside.
His kids are, I think, are all beyond the pediatric age, but honestly, I think. I can't speak truly to that. Okay, any questions for the petitioners unrelated to Brendan's dining issues? If not, we'll have a seat for just a moment. We'll open it for public comment. Is anyone here regarding this petitioner's request? Might be a short sit, so maybe don't sit down, Jim. We'll close public comment. If we could step back up to the podium, please. Any questions or talk anymore? We'll entertain a motion for our petitioner.
Is for favorable or unfavorable recommendation?
I'm sorry, yeah, thank you for that. So this is just a favorable, unfavorable, or no to the town council will make the final decision with regards to Ms. Clark's operation in that building.
I'll make a favorable recommendation for St. John Municipal Code 24-342 and 24-45. That approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. The use and the value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. The need for the variance will not arise from some condition of peculiar to the property. Nothing to list. The applicant did establish that the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will constitute unnecessary hardship if applied to the property for which the variance is sought. The petitioner has established that approval does not interfere substantially with comprehensive plans to the town of St. John.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Perfect.
Good luck with your next round.
Good
Thank
luck,
you very
Director
much.
Clark.
Next on the agenda, 2023-14, special exception from St. John MC 24-192 and St. John MC 24-342 in sequence to SJ MC 24-45 to allow a sale of tobacco and vape products within the C2 zoning district at US 231 overlay district at 10845 Parish Avenue, St. John, Indiana. SR Andre LLC, applicant owner, and Jeff Brandt, agent.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Brandt. My office is at 5201 Fountain Drive in Crown Point, Indiana. And we're here tonight to ask for a variance for ABC Foods, which is the owner is here today, to allow them to not only do a convenience store, which they're planning to do there, but also in that convenience store sell tobacco products and vape products. Their hours of operation are usually from, on the weekdays are from 9 to 9 at night. Saturdays are 9 to 8, and on Sundays they'll be open from 10 to 6 p.m. They plan to have 3 employees, but hope to grow the business to have 5 employees. Their breakdown of their, which I've provided to the town already, would be about 40% of their product sales would be grocery sales, which would be milk and, just staples. They have 40% tobacco products, which would be, cigarettes and cigars, and then 20% of their sales, they figure, would be vape products, but non-liquid vape products. Also, just to bring up the point is that the liquor store across the street does sell tobacco, and you can buy, vape products at that facility also. And we're requesting today the opportunity for this owner to open his business at this location to do per his business plan he provided to the town. And we've also provided to the town some pictures of one of their existing stores on the interior. So we're here, the owner's here, and we're here to answer any questions you might have concerning the operation and any other questions of concerns.
Thank you. Any questions from the board regarding this petitioner's request? John, where did this, I think this is like over by the other Keenan Liquors, right? Could you pull up the map for me?
That's what I was kind of,
Yes, it's right by Keenan Liquors, and the Hagwich Savings Bank is right there.
Okay.
On the other corner is where the Family Express is located, and they also sell, tobacco products also.
so just outside a residential subdivision.
Well, we're not on, there's no residential behind it, there's no residential.
I meant very close.
Yes, there is some residential to the rear and to the north. I mean, really to the north of the property.
So close enough that kids can walk to.
It's not as close as the Keenan Liquor Store is that where kids could walk to, but it's,
I think we're splitting hairs, Mr. Brandt. It's
Yeah.
like right across the parking lot.
yeah, it's right across the parking lot
Kids
to
can't
the
get into
south
liquor
of
store
Keenan
to buy-
Liquors.
to buy
It'd be on
cigarettes
this
or so.
green
That's it.
space here between the bank and the
Yes.
existing Keenan.
That lot there.
Yep.
That was already a building there. There was a proposed building, or was that?
Yeah, the
Between the two of
building's
them.
under construction, but this aerial's a little outdated.
Okay, all right. I know we've had someone in before they're there or adjacent to the Franciscan area over there.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Any questions for the petitioners? If not, have a seat for a minute, gentlemen.
Thank you.
I'm sure there's someone here to talk about, we'll open up for public comment. Please identify your name and your address, please.
Be glad to. Thank you very much tonight. My name is Ed Marson. I live at 10704 Arbor Lane, which is due north of Mr. Brandt's building. During the July 26, 2023 St. John Town Council meeting, public speaking segment, Mr. Fred Benoit, who lives in the gates of St. John, presented the town council with the petition that was signed by 168 people who were against this proposed vape shop. And in this case, as Mr. Brandt has defined now, it's a vape use since there's a general store that'll be in there. The petition was given to President Michael Schilling after Fred spoke. Was this petition provided to the BZA tonight, and will it be read into the record tonight? Mr. Brandt's building is approximately 350 feet south of Cherry's Gardens and the Gates Child Care on Arbor Lane. There is, across the street from Cherry's, there is a very large residential area, including mine. And due to the proximity of this child care facility, the residential area, the number of residents against this vape use, I'm requesting that the Board of Zoning Appeals forward an unfavorable recommendation to the St. John Town Council regarding this matter. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Does anyone else, please step up?
But to answer your question, I didn't see any petition.
Let's see, we'll have John.
Just to answer your
Oh,
earlier
wait, just
question.
hold on, we'll get to that. We'll get to that after. Please step up, sir, and we'll address that at the end.
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen. My name is Mike Bovat. I live at 9291 West 103rd Place, and I appreciate your gentlemen's comments. I'm in complete agreement with him. We've had many residents. I've talked to neighbors that have approached me. I've received phone calls. I've received text. The community and the gates We are adamantly opposed to having a vape shop. That's not why we bought and built our homes in St. John, to have this in our backyard. We are adamantly opposed to this. Just wanted to go on record. We know the petition. I've signed it. My wife signed it. Many people signed it. And I'm sure there's people that intended to sign it, but perhaps didn't. But we are adamantly opposed to this vape shop. And we would respect if the BZA would take it to heart and not accept the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mike.
Wayne Pondinas, 8781 Verbena Court. The first gentleman basically said everything I wanted to say. I'm not for this either. There was a petition for 168 signatures that went to President Mike Schilling. You guys probably should have had that. Whatever happened to it, I don't know, but that was presented one or two sessions ago for the town council. So again, I'm not in favor of that either, and a lot of the people that I talk to aren't in favor either, all the residents out there. And I would recommend that you do an unfavorable recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have another comment, sir? Step up to the podium.
I just have one other comment regarding
Just
this
name and
petition.
address,
Ed
please.
Marson, 10704 Far Arbor Lane, St. John.
Thank you.
I just have one other comment that today I did stop by the town hall here and I did talk to Jenna regarding that petition. And she was unaware of it, and I said, you know, maybe I would think town manager, Mr. Wizawati, would have that, but supposedly, I don't know if she didn't find it, whatever, but I think to that point that that document should have been here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment regarding this petitioner's request? Thank you. Any remonstrances that came in, John?
No, not for this item.
Okay. That will close public comment. Gentlemen, if you please come back up to the podium. Any questions for the petitioners or a motion?
I'll make a motion to give an unfavorable recommendation to STGMC 24-342. The establishment and the maintenance of the operation of the special exemption will be detrimental to the endangerment of public health, safety, and morals, comfort, and general welfare. The special exemption will be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity of the purposes already permitted, nor substantially diminish the impaired property value of the neighborhood. The establishment of the special exemption will impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of the surrounding property for uses permitted in the district. Adequate measures will be taken to provide ingress and egress, doesn't really matter, so designed as to minimize traffic congestion on public streets. The adequate, that doesn't really matter either. The adequate measure will not in other respects conform to the applicable.
You missed number 5.
It has nothing to do with one of them. All right, it's fine. The adequate utilities, access road drainage, and/or other necessary facilities be provided. I don't know. The adequate measure will not, in any other respects, conform to the applicable regulations of the zoning district in which it is located. This special exemption shall be required to comply with reasonable time limitations or commencement consideration of special exemption, as well as the holder rights of the same.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, 2023-15 developmental variance from St. John MC 24-462C to construct a garage addition that is 22 1/2 inches above the highest ridge line of the residence to which the said garage is attached at 9450 Claremont Drive, St. John. Christopher Salazar and Lynn Kozlowski, applicant owner.
Hi, I'm Christopher Salazar, and this is my wife.
Lynn Kozlowski.
Okay.
And we've actually brought our builders,
Okay.
Casey Wedding and his wife Kim Wedding is here also. A year ago, we stood before you and asked for a variance for a 14-foot interior finished garage ceiling above existing grade. And we were granted that and went ahead and proceeded with our construction. And we had a bit of an issue after all was said and done. And that is that the ridge line of the new garage exceeded the existing ridge line by 22 1/2 inches. So we're here before you tonight to ask for a variance of a garage that's already been completed, but unfortunately it is 22 1/2 inches too tall. This garage
What's already done?
additional height was of no real benefit to us as far as The interior of the garage in the attic crawl space is a void that we're not using. It wasn't made taller to have any more space or anything that would be a benefit to us. It was simply done to make the house and the existing angles and pitches of the roof look as if it was all one complete harmonious piece of work from the architect.
We didn't accomplish that though because of the height. So architects needs to maybe go back to school.
And I did bring some photos of the walk-around of the remodel addition, if anyone's interested, just to kind of see. I know some of you may have driven by and saw the front, but this will give you a better idea of what it looks like all the way around. And unfortunately, we have about 30 neighbors that couldn't be here tonight, but they did sign a strongly worded letter of support. Great neighbors, by the way, to kind of help us and sway your decision to grant us this request.
So just to be clear, this building is complete. It's
Correct.
all done? Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
They got a permit for this? Yeah.
Yes, they do have a permit.
Any questions for the petitioners? This is a unique circumstance, obviously.
I understand.
Anybody?
I mean, if they were asking for it, I probably wouldn't approve it, but I can't see it making you take it down, you know, like. I mean, was there any remonstrances or
I
anyone
don't understand.
complaining?
There is one letter of remonstrance in the packet,
Yeah.
and then there is the signed letter of support from the neighbors too, so there's one of each.
We'll read that into. I guess from the builder's perspective, did you like question the drawing to say, or were you aware of the variance?
No.
Introduce yourself again, sir, I'm sorry.
What's that?
Introduce yourself as your name and.
Casey Wedding,
Okay, and you're with Wedding Construction?
Paradise Builders.
Paradise Builders, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
We made the roof pitches match from the front, so it looked well from the front. We never even considered a height restriction on a ranch.
Was there a reason for the tall garage door? I'm just curious.
Yes, we have a recreational vehicle that
Oh,
we
now I
wanted to.
remember you guys,
Yes,
okay.
Yeah.
keep off the driveway, yeah.
A year, you know, goes by, a lot of stuff's happened. Okay. There's no other questions. Have a seat for a moment. We're going to open up for public comment, and the remonstrance will be read. Is there anyone here looking to make a comment regarding this petitioner's request? Please step to the podium, sir, and give us your name and your address.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Dan Swearingen. I currently live at 9628 Claremont Drive, just down the street. In 1992, I built my first home on Claremont Drive, lot number 3, a 2,000 square foot ranch. The pitch of the roof is an 812, which exceeds the height of their garage. In 1998, I built a second home, which we currently reside in, 9628. We've been there since 98. The house is wider. It's still an 812 pitch, so the roof is higher. My neighbors have invested quite a bit of money to improve their home, and I plead the board that you would give an acceptable variance for this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else here regarding the petitioner's request? Public comment? If not, we'll read the remonstrances. Town of St. John, 8/21/23 for zoning appeal meeting tonight from Ed Merrick, Claremont Drive, doesn't give his address. I am opposed to the second variance request for this garage. It is out of place in a residential neighborhood. Not only submitting a plan and adding over 2 feet to the roof line is not a hardship. would you be opening town liability for every plan you denied by the town? Additionally, we've got some, another one is, this is basically everyone that lives, I guess, around them. Petition, we, the adjacent property owners, fully support our neighbors Christopher Salazar and Lynn Kozlowski in their variance request from the town of St. John to construct a garage addition in 22 1/2 inches above the highest ridge line of the residence which said garage is attached. We appreciate the craftsmanship demonstrated by Paradise Builders and feel the finished product adds value to our neighborhood. In no way does the added 22 1/2 inch of the garage height negatively affect the property value. Approval of this variance will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, and general welfare of the community. The use of this value of the adjacent area adjacent to the property included in this variance will not affect this in a substantial adverse manner. The strict application of terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of this property. And there's a number of pages on here with up to 30 residents signing this petition for the petitioners. If you folks would, is there any other remonstrances that I didn't cover in there, John? Is that all?
No, that was the only one.
Okay. You folks please step back up to the podium. Do we have any other questions for the petitioners or a motion, please?
I believe like this is a situation that kind of fell between the cracks as far as, I don't know, I guess with the builder not knowing. My only concern would be that anybody can build something, just ask for forgiveness, and then, you know, it's too late since it's already built.
What the remedy do we have with this, John? I mean, really, other than having them tear the thing down and rebuild it?
Yes, I mean, as in the building and planning department, then we wouldn't be able to approve the final inspection until they made it meet the ordinance, which our ordinance does have a requirement for attached garage ridge lines not to exceed the ridge line of the home, which is the variance that he's going for now that wasn't in his original request.
Okay.
And that was due to the drawings in the original request showing the two ridge lines meeting in the same plane.
So they made a field change?
Yeah, they either made a field change or the way, I mean, I would just guess looking at it is if you imagine the ridge coming down 22 1/2 inches, that would drop this eave, and it looks like it would kind of intersect with the gable. So I think to kind of make everything flow together, that the heights ended up where they are to create this little pocket there for everything to kind of mesh together and make it look less of an addition and more of a original build.
That's what we were going for.
I guess my question is, when you're building something like this, do you get the visits from do they visit sites like this to see if they're within, especially with a special exception during that build, or we don't, after we give the approval, no one goes back to check on the?
Yeah, we do inspections throughout the process, footings, foundations, rough framing and stuff like that.
So how was this missed then, I guess is my
Well, this
question.
was caught, I mean, we haven't
It
issued.
was already completed though, right, when it was caught?
It was already in process
when it was caught.
when it was caught. Yeah.
While it was framed?
It was drywall when it was caught.
Well, because this would be, the inspections have to take place during, when the building's framed, right, before anything is enclosed.
Yeah, there's rough-in inspections.
Yeah.
Right, so the rough-in inspection, was it missed during that period?
Rough-in would have
Or
the
was there
roof
not?
line though, right? As
Right,
far as the
yes.
ridge,
It's
so-
framed.
Yeah, it would already be roofed at the rough end.
Yeah, so I'm just curious as to what.
And I don't doubt the
your point.
craftsmanship. I mean, it's, everything looks like it's well done. It's just, yeah, exactly. The concern is like, well, we'll just build it and then we'll just go and ask for forgiveness and.
Not for permission.
Right.
Yeah, that was not my intent.
I don't get
at all.
that sense from you.
It's an honest mistake on my part, not catching the height, but I never thought there was a height restriction on a ranch, which I've never ran into till now.
I guess back to the point of when we do the site visits, why this wasn't caught though too, I guess is my point. If we have people going out and doing the inspection and we have the roof is basically there, why didn't we, I guess, catch that before we completely enclosed the building? You know what I mean? Does that make sense, or is that something we don't do?
Yeah, at that point, if we see a violation, is there a stop work order?
I mean, there could be, but I mean, as long as they work to, you know, it's kind of a fine line. You don't want to stop it and let the weather get to it. And again, the roof was already on it and whatnot before they realized they would have to
Enclosed
come
though,
back.
right? And that's my point, is it wasn't enclosed, so we were doing an inspection, it was a rough in, and we hadn't enclosed the building, there's still opportunity to remedy that before they do all the rest of that. You know what I mean? Is there, or?
But the rafters were already cut and the roof was already shingled.
But
and-
we're not
and-
enclosed by brick and everything else. I mean, I understand that's there. I'm not in construction, I don't know, these guys are more in tune to that, but it just seems to me that someone missed something, I guess, along the line here. And again, both builder and perhaps, I'm not saying pointing the finger at the town, whoever does the inspections, but there's something was missed, so. I'm not sure what we can do to remedy it now, but, like Mr. Popovich said, it's, you know, we're just gonna keep allowing this to happen. Again, we haven't had this happen but one other time in my recollection. It was on a foundation, Brendan, if you recall, over in,
Old Tough.
yeah. So, okay. There's no other questions. I'd entertain a motion on this particular petition, petitioner's request.
Motion to approve STJMC 24-462C.
I'll second it.
We gotta read the finding of fact, Bob.
Oh, yep, sorry.
Still have a voice for that.
We on E?
Yeah, that's the one. You have the right one. It's towards the back.
Okay.
That's the one.
Approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantial adverse manner, that the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property, and no contingencies.
And I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank
Take
you very
care,
much.
guys. Thank you.
And we let Old Tough off with it, so. We let Old Tough off.
Adam, in a situation like this, would, I mean, I don't feel like it was like malicious intent or anything with this, but, like, if there was evidence to point to the contrary, would there, short of like tearing it down, would the fine be able to be imposed? Would be my question, I guess.
Well, that's a good question. I think for purposes of the application for the variance from the development standard, it either, I mean, the statute's pretty clear that it either has to be approved or denied. And so if it was denied, then I think as John suggested, they would have to take it down and build it in accordance with our zoning ordinance.
Who was the heart to do that?
I don't know that,
That's the way.
you know, there is a provision in our zoning ordinance that allows for the imposition of fines, but I don't know that it would necessarily be in this particular case, but I'd have to look into that further before I could really give you a definite opinion, whether that would be an appropriate.
I was just curious.
Action.
I didn't feel like that would be appropriate with this situation, but just in general, just.
I guess my question would be really more around, do we have all our different agencies within the town that do these checks? We could avoid these kinds of.
And I think that's where, something that we were kind of looking into in the past was some software. And the thing I've seen in my tenure in the building and planning department is that the BZA will grant somebody something, and we have full-time and part-time inspectors that work for the town, and not everybody's privy to what gets approved or what gets denied. So like, for example, tonight, Chipotle, you know, got variances and whatnot, and when the inspector goes out to look at, you know, we'll say the rough framing on Chipotle, they're not privy to what the BZA
Approved or didn't approve?
Approved or didn't. So in the case of this garage, somebody went out there and they checked the rafter spans to make sure that, you know, a 2x8, 2x10 rafter is not overspan and it's going to sag. They checked, you know, the attachment of the rafter to the top plates. They checked all the framing stuff that you would want to ensure the longevity of the improvement on the house, to make sure it's safe for the people to live in and whatnot. But they're not really privy to, you know, the fact that they said at the podium a year ago that their garage ridge line was not going to exceed the ridge line of the house.
They checked what they were
So-
supposed to, and
Yeah, so they check it for code compliance with the International Residential Code, and they move on. So it's, in the software that we were looking to, that would tie the variance to that property, and then an inspector could go out there and say, oh, okay, here's the parameters that were imposed at the BZA. But right now, all of these approvals are either in a Word document on somebody's computer at the office, or they're on a piece of paper in a filing cabinet in the office.
They have no
And
notification of that.
when the inspectors are out doing their inspections in the field, they don't have any access to electronic documents
Okay.
or paper documents. So that's,
they have no knowledge.
that's
that-
how it could be overlooked. Right. They have,
The
you know,
height.
we have code books we take around and stuff like that, but we don't have any way to, without driving back to the office, looking in a drawer, looking in a file cabinet, looking at a computer.
It's not a big deal.
You know, it'd be very nice to have like a laptop or tablet or iPad to see the plans that were submitted to the BZA, what the findings of facts were from the BZA, what the constraints were placed on the project by the BZA, all while you're out there. That's kind of been my dream for as long as I've been there, is to have, you know, all the nitty gritty details at your fingertips while you're walking around in the mud doing an inspection.
Yeah.
Well, especially like with these variances, I mean, I don't know if a OneDrive account is available that you guys can set up where it's a shared file for these folders, and then put that
Right,
information
and
in
then
variances
access it in
right
the
at the
field,
front.
and then you could match up that, okay, the ridge lines are the
We
same
got people there.
height.
Okay, well, we need something that we don't see this again. Thanks, John, for that explanation, appreciate it. Next on the agenda, 2023-16 developmental variance from SJMC 24-554F and St. John MC 24-554F1, St. John MC 24-554F2, St. John MC 24-554B4, St. John
Thank you.
MC 24, thank you, I lost my place now. 492, to allow electronic message church bulletin sign, to allow sign square footage of 364 square feet or less, a maximum of 352 square feet larger than permitted, to allow a sign height of 18 feet 6 inches, which is 12 feet 6 inches higher than permitted, to allow the sign location to be within the street right-of-way, and to have the height of 18 feet 6 inches within the 12-foot 6-inch higher than permitted, to allow the existing parking space count or greater at 11211 West 93rd Avenue and 9330 Wicker Avenue, St. John. St. John Evangelist Church. Applicant, owner Kevin Hunt, agent attorney. Hello, Mr. Hunt.
Good evening, Kevin Hunt of Schilling Development on behalf of St. John the Evangelist. Here today because the church would like to obtain some developmental variances for new signage that it's been working on. I've tendered to you some blown-up documents of what you should have received electronically, except the first page is a new overlay of the landscape plan on a drone photo. It kind of better shows the information. I sent this to Jenna this afternoon, but I don't know if she had an opportunity to receive it.
Not this first picture, no.
Yeah. I think some background on the project would be beneficial. I would say, earlier this year, we did assist the church when they were working through the 93rd Street widening project with the town. There was a group of professionals that worked with the church, helped represent the church, and make sure everything with the widening that they needed done was going to happen, and that everything the town needed was going to happen. At that time, both the church and the town had kind of some items they needed taken care of. One of those things was the house that was taken down off 93rd Street, right away taken. One of the things that was going to be added here would be a fence and curb along 93rd and 41. While the 93rd Street project was proceeding, the church had some time to think about additional options as to what was going to happen to the signage that they had proposed. And one of those things was when the first sign that the church had was a big metal LED sign, and it didn't really fit with the area, so we went back to the drawing board and proposed a very nice stone, brick, and block sign that could be a focal point. So we're now at the point where 93rd Street, the engineers are looking at some of the improvements, sidewalks, and we need to coordinate our church sign with that part of the project. So as the sign gained steam, part of the project, it was designed to look at, can we make a welcoming area to St. John? So we came up with what you have before you, essentially at the corner of 93rd and 41, a small plaza for welcoming people to the town of St. John. Originally, the location of the sign was supposed to be close to the corner, but we learned recently that there's AT&T fiber easements that run through that area. We wouldn't be able to put the sign there. So it moved south of the day chapel. One of the other things that we realized is that the town was going to put a fence along the sidewalk and curb, and then we just didn't know how the town was ever going to maintain that area. If the church has very high landscaping standards, the fence could easily get hit. The fence was going to go into the curb concrete. The town would have had to take out the concrete, take out the fence, and replace it. So essentially what we've done here is say, we're going to have a plaza that the church will take care of, the landscape and the maintenance, rather than having...
Plaza, is that on the northwest?
Southwest.
Southwest?
That's the southwest corner.
The southwest corner?
Yep. Correct? Southwest corner.
This is 93rd Street right here.
Yeah, that's,
This is the north.
northeast.
This is the northeast corner.
You're looking,
The southwest corner of the intersection.
51, this is the
Southwest of the
church,
intersection.
that's facing west.
Oh, yeah, southwest corner of intersection.
southwest corner.
Northeast
Yeah, that makes
corner
sense.
of the parcel.
Yeah, it depends if you're talking about the parcel or the intersection.
Yeah.
Southwest corner of the
I
intersection.
stand corrected.
Well, both are technically right, I guess. So we'd love the opportunity to create this plaza, bring something to the town. The church has invested a lot of money in making the day chapel look great. And so we'd obviously have the plaza at the corner and kind of continue that on to where the sign will be located just south of the day chapel. We have some bollards, benches, and some very high-end decorative landscaping. So right now, if nothing changes, you're just going to have a big asphalt parking lot. We'd really like to change that look in town, especially right next to Town Hall here. Taking a look through some of my notes here, the proposal we had sent over shows a very high-end sign. Like I said, it's going to have stone. It's going to attempt to match what's already at the existing church. The first sign proposal we had showed the town was probably didn't match the area. So we'd love to be able to match that and build a nice sign with planters and flowers around it. Going through my notes here, I think the main thing here is that we're just trying to beautify the area. And so tonight, there's 5 variances. Given how Chipotle went, I want to make sure we're going through this the correct way and how you gentlemen would like to handle this. But I've got 4 sign variances and 1 parking lot variance. So I can take each one by one, and we can go from there. I don't know if we want to sit, if you want me to sit and for a public, I don't know if anyone wants to speak, but however you would like to handle it, I'm open.
I guess just before we get to that point, I just want to make sure I understand the current drawing. So we had someone here 2 months ago, I believe, maybe it was 3, about the fence. So the fence is out, is it you're telling me, or we're still putting the fence in there?
The fence is out.
Is out. So this proposed, on the corner of 93rd and 41, that's been approved by the planning commission, or this is
It is
part
not.
of the variance?
I will be in front of the Plan Commission on September 20th, and then I think for public hearing on October 4th, whatever the first Wednesday in October would be.
And you're meeting with them about both corners here of the property?
Yes, it'll be part of the site plan
Okay.
for the approval. The variances that I need for that site plan are in
On
front
the
of you
sign.
tonight.
Basically, everything is on the south end of the parking lot for the sign.
Yes, so 4 sign variances, but also 1 because of the parking lot allocation.
Okay.
It's a big sign.
It's big.
I guess to your question before we get there is, Mr. Hunt, is the number of variances, although there's quite a few less than our Chipotle friends. And Mr. Decker, what are your thoughts on that? Because it's not spelled out as clearly this situation that we had with the Chipotle as far as,
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure what your question is.
yeah, so my question is that you said 5 variances in this? I'm just trying to track them here myself, actually.
Correct. Electronic sign, square footage of the sign, height of the sign, the abutment along the right-of-way, and then the amount of parking spaces.
Say those again. Electric sign.
LED electric sign,
Yep.
the total square footage of the sign, the height of the sign, the sign and the plaza essentially being allowed up against the right-of-way, in the right-of-way, and then the amount of parking spaces.
Okay.
So square footage of the sign is 352 feet larger? So is that a total of 716?
No, the
I'm trying to understand that as well.
364 square feet is our request total. I'm sorry, I've got my note.
So essentially, it's saying that there's only a 12 square foot sign allotment for this? Is that, John, help me with this?
Yeah, that,
Something doesn't add up here in that, that's why.
no, it's kind of
I
confusing.
read it this morning, and it made me a little confused.
Yeah, because 352 larger than 3, yeah.
Maybe
Correct.
12 square feet.
Yeah.
I had a lengthy conversation with Sergio about square footage allowed. I said there appears to be a gap in the zoning ordinance when we tried to figure out what was allowed. He took the most restrictive that he could, because I think there is a specific provision about church bulletins, church signs, which is severely limited. Churches really can only have a sign of, I think, it was something very small. I thought it was like 12 feet.
Yeah.
So that's what it's saying.
12 square feet.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. From our zoning ordinance, it's Town Code Section 24554F. church bulletins and signs. Church bulletins and signs for public or quasi-public buildings are subject to the following. Number one, area and number. There shall not be more than one sign per zoning lot. The sign shall not exceed 12 square feet in area, and the sign shall be located at least 10 feet from adjacent lots. Height, no sign height shall exceed 6 feet above curb level. And so that's where that, I think that's what he determined, is that for church bulletins and signs, our zoning ordinance restricts that to 12 square feet.
In my mind, that's somewhat ridiculous. That's a 2-foot by 3-foot sign for each
I
church
don't
if you
disagree.
look at
I
each
mean-
side. So, but he said that that was what I needed a variance from. I wasn't going to argue with him about that, so. But if you go up and down 41,
Well, you know, to that, you know, you're saying that now, you know, I know there's a school sign adjacent to that property, and it's rather large. I wasn't here when that went through, if it went through the BZA or not. Maybe it meets has different requirements because it's a school versus a church. Even going down the road even further with the community hospital, I know we did.
Another one's the library.
The library.
Another with
The library, yeah. So I guess from the standpoint of, when you try to look at all the signs up and down 41, it doesn't, to me, make sense that you get this much and they get this much. You know what I mean? But again, I didn't put this together.
Do you know the size of the library sign?
I don't know
I know
the
it's
size.
bigger than what's required.
Library sign is
Or maybe
large.
it's, maybe because
The-
it's electronic, or I don't remember.
School sounds pretty big too, isn't it?
Is it?
The electronic sign too, so I get to that too, so I'm curious. I mean, and the overall, I understand, they want this nice looking sign. And, the people involved with this, I know what they do, the things that they do. However, it just seems a little bit large.
Correct.
That
It's,
space?
I will tell you that it's probably not as large as the sign directly across the street as
I
Avgo.
understand that.
So it does fit in the general, like you said, it does fit in the general area. I went up and down 41 today. It is, and a big portion of the sign comes from the planters that surround the sign. So those will be,
The structure supporting all around, I understand that. It's just the overall, 18 feet, 6 inches, again, doesn't include the cross, I don't think, at the top of the.
That does.
The 18
that
goes
does, yeah.
across. At the top of the dome, 16.
Yeah, I mean, the height of the sign roughly is 6'6".
so, and there is a drop off. And part of the reason for having it a little bit higher is because there is a drop off into the parking lot of about 3 feet.
From the sidewalk, yeah.
So, and like I said, if you look across the street, the Avgo and that business center, their sign is essentially a big pole sign with, it probably sticks up over 20 feet. So,
That,
There were-
was that, do you know if that's existing that they utilized, or was it something they put up with that building? I don't recall.
Believe that was the bank that was refaced.
Right,
Yeah,
so they
those
just, they
standard,
utilized, so it was basically grandfathered in.
This used to be a standard bank sign.
Yeah, so that, they're just utilizing, they grandfathered that, they didn't, or they utilized what was there, so they didn't build anything new, so you really can't utilize that as a point of contention.
I mean, it's just so big, but it's good. I mean, it's a good looking sign, don't get me wrong. I mean, and I know. I mean, I know
right,
that-
so
I know how they like to landscape.
Well, no, we also had quite a bit of landscaping around that sign to the south. We added that. Originally, we were only going to have a small kind of plaza at the corner, and then we had to move the sign because of the fiber easement. That's when we added the landscaping there to make it decorative. and to make it look like it's been there and it belongs. So, like I said, the actual LED sign is 4 foot by 9 foot, which is pretty close to some of the other LED signs. I think there's roughly a dozen LED signs up and down 41 north of 96th.
And that sign was grandfathered, that's the old sign.
Yeah, that's the old.
Same with Shoop's, been there forever.
Tell me about the right-of-way. It says it,
How
the
big's that
sign's
school
in the
sign now?
right-of-way.
Is that school?
The sign, well, it was in the right of way. Obviously, we had to move it, so it's not technically in the right of way. I think I can build, or the church could build up to 5 feet from the right of way. We're probably going to be in that 3 to 5 foot range, so we would like the variance to get a little bit closer, but also the bollards and the landscaping on the northwest corner, that'll likely fall into part of the right-of-way. So we hope to meet with First Group to kind of address some of those issues.
So the actual sign is 4 by 9, but all the bells and whistles and dome and cross, the dome and the cross adds another 6 feet. And the planter, that added another, 4 feet.
4 feet,
4 foot of height.
and then surrounding.
It's a nice looking sign. I don't think it's gonna like make the town look ugly. I think it'll look good. The seating area,
Well, that's not what we're talking about.
yeah,
That's that's not.
the different topic, but
Yeah. So another question, Mr. Hunt. So the electronic sign's gonna be on both sides?
Yes.
Okay. So total's gonna be, you said 4 foot by 4 foot by 9, that's 4 foot by 9 times 2.
72.
Mm-hmm.
So as I mentioned, much of the height is tied to making it match and look like the actual church that's been here forever. So a lot of it's decorative, especially the planters. It's all meant to just beautify the area.
You mentioned that this would also be on the lower part of the grade. What is that, I guess, the difference between the sidewalk or the curb level to where this is being built? What's the difference in height?
Well, that's one of the subjects for a meeting tomorrow, but the rough estimate was about 3 feet difference. And whether
Below grade, below the street level?
below the sidewalk level.
Above level,
Yep.
okay.
This area is 3 feet below the sidewalk.
Okay.
It's that far, really?
So,
Drops off considerably over there, it'd be right basically in
I
that
see,
corner.
okay.
It's hard to tell
Yeah,
there.
it is. But I see that there's a drop off there.
and there'll need to be a little bit of work done on drainage in that corner.
Because I
And
think
that'll
your
be part-
drainage runs through this area.
So they'll work on figuring out the best way to catch all that. So when we have the site plan that goes in front of the Plan Commission, we will have new parking laid out. So right now, it's just a drone shot with the landscaping. But because the landscaping will take some of these spots, we'll have to remark those lines. One of the variances we have today is to allow, I think there's approximately 112 spots. I say approximate because some of the lines have faded over time, and it's hard to tell if there was a spot there or not. But there are no parking issues. It's not it's not the main church. It's used for school, it's funerals, weddings. So they've never had a parking issue there. So part of the request would be saying when we remap this, reline this, we at least hit that 112. Because the old house has been paved over, we expect to far exceed
Build
that.
up, you can gain back some more spaces. What's the requirement for that space, John? Do you know as far as parking spaces?
I'm not sure what the
Well,
current
it would
is.
It's a difficult calculation. We had to figure that roughly 550 feet of pew space is how you figure out parking for churches. So we had 550 feet and one space per 4 feet. I think that came out to 137.5 would be the required parking. We potentially may get there, kind of depending on how it lays out. But two of the main things were making sure we had a flow pattern for funerals and for weddings. So that'll take some investigation tomorrow.
So current conditions right now, it's about a 3-foot drop from the top of the sidewalk down to the area where you guys are proposing to have the sign installed?
Correct.
Is that going to change once it's regraded and re-landscaped?
I don't know for certain because that's one of the issues we're going to bring up tomorrow. Right now, it's not. The firm, First Group, that's handling the 93rd Street widening project may have some issues with where the sidewalk's going because they're handling all the sidewalk issues here. But otherwise, this is set off, at the moment, we have it set off back where the actual parking lot is. We will run into some issues because I'm not familiar with it, but apparently Joliet Road used to run through the parking lot. And that is an old concrete road that we will likely have to dig into to put our foundation in. So I think you can kind of see where it runs on the drone photo diagonally through the parking lot.
Oh, now I see it. Yep, now I see it.
So I can tell you, the intent now is that it's going to go put the foundation 4 feet below the parking lot, and so that it would be level at that point.
Okay, so and no offense, but I'm hearing a lot of, what ifs. We got all these things to still to do, based on the construction site on 93rd and other factors. I don't know that we know enough to where exactly we're going to be putting this. There are a lot of variables that haven't been answered yet. In my mind, I think this needs to be deferred after they have this meeting with the Planning Commission. I don't know, Mr. Decker, any thoughts on that? I mean, I don't want to make a decision based on this, given what we just went through in our last petitioner, and then that it's the same, but we need to have some more defined information here. And there's a lot of things that are based on what other people do, right? So.
Correct. I understand that. I think one of the things we're trying to do here is coordinate with the town's efforts and keep them in line with the 93rd Street project because I know the engineer there wants to keep moving forward with his project and coordinate the curb line that's going to come in and some of that.
That's why I mean there's a lot of variables that we don't have solid information on from that standpoint. And in my mind, it'd be better to know these things through the Planning Commission. Just hear me out for a second. And if that means deferring a month or 2 months or whatever, you guys got this project over this is taking forever, by the way. That's not your problem. But these things are all things that we need to consider in order to make a decision on a lot of this. Just again, this is just my opinion. The rest of the board may have a difference of opinion. Other things we can work through, but until we know, I think, where some of these things are going to fall, especially on the encroachment to the right-of-way, that's a big thing for me. Elevation and then position. There's a lot of what-ifs I don't think, Mr. Hunt, that we have answers to yet. And I would prefer to have those things in line before we would make a decision. So.
Did you say you need to talk to First Group, the engineer for the project for 93rd and 41?
They're going to coordinate some of the improvements. So one of those
Coordinate
things
with
was,
who?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Coordinate with who?
The curb with the church.
With the church.
Yeah. So, but those aren't part of the most of those issues, and really none are directly tied to the variances. Those may be site plan issues that I'm addressing with the Plan Commission, but for the variances on the sign itself, or the parking lot, I guess I'd like to address it as much as I can
I understand
today.
your position with that. My position on this is that there's too many things that we don't have solid information on. And I don't feel comfortable making a decision based on that. Again, my opinion, they may have a difference of that. Mr. Decker, I mean, what we would, just to get some, I guess, guidance here, I know we've done this in the past.
So, I believe, we're scheduled for a public hearing tonight. I don't know that that's been held yet on this matter.
No.
Okay. So I would recommend that you open the public hearing this evening. The board may defer the matter. It's not required to make any decision tonight if that's ultimately the decision of the members of the board. And the board can also hold open the hearing to allow anybody to make comment or remonstrate based on any additional information that might be presented as part of the application being made. So I think
So
that
keep
would
it
be.
open versus a deferral, you're saying? You do one or the other?
No, I'm
It's all
saying.
part of the same.
No, you can defer the item to next month's agenda, this item. I think you should conduct the hearing tonight.
Yes.
I think you may also consider holding the hearing open to allow anybody to perhaps comment or remonstrate on any changes that are presented as part of the application. So
Okay.
without a deferral, the applicant has presented evidence, written orally, for your consideration. And after tonight, there's no additional information that's going to be submitted. If you defer the matter to allow the applicant to develop the proposal or to provide more information to satisfy your inquiries, then I think the public should also be afforded an opportunity to review that and to make public comment if they so choose at
Okay.
any future hearings to which this matter is deferred.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Decker. Any questions for Mr. Hunt before we open public comment? No?
If,
go
I
ahead.
guess if this gets deferred, I like to see these different
We'll
variances
cover
spelled
that on the back end of this.
on the back end. Okay.
For a second, Mr. Hunt. We'll open it for public comment. Is there anyone here who would like to make a comment regarding the petitioner's request? Yes, sir. Please step to the podium. Give us your name and address, please.
Mike Bovet, live at 9291 West 103rd Place, and not quite sure what to say because it was rather ambiguous on this presentation, so what was actually in the paper didn't really match up to what he was saying, and I get what you're saying, asking him. So what my concern is that, you know, in the past, I know within the community, I think Lake Central had requested a different type of a sign. I don't believe that that was ever granted. Also, when you talk about a large sign, and especially in the location he's talking about, if I'm understanding this right, because I mean, it's just a little confusing to me a little bit how you presented it. But like a sign like that, I think would be a distraction for driving. You get a large sign, and now you're taking attention away, something to consider. And then, I was going to say that, like, in the right-of-way, I would kind of be opposed to that. We just paid a lot of money for the right-of-way for the 93rd Street project, and then to grant them access to that, I mean, that doesn't, you know, doesn't sit well with me. And then also, and I don't know this, but, I mean, we all live here. We all live in the town. I don't know who goes to the town that lives here that might attend the church, but something to consider if members are attend the church. I mean, that would be tough, I think, for anyone to rule on that if they're attending the church. Something maybe, if you're going there, you may want to recuse yourself from that. So until, like you said, until we get more information, I think, you know, and like the attorney said, then give us an opportunity to see what's actually being presented. But it does seem like a really, really large sign, and aesthetically, I just don't think that really fits what we're looking for in St. John. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anyone else? Wayne?
Yeah, Wayne Pondinas, 8781 Verbena Court. Mr. President, you had made a comment about the engineering and the project is taking slow. The concrete machine, the curb machine, they poured the first.
Can I stop you right there? This is not pertaining to this, so I made off the
all right.
comment
I'll-
about with the project over there.
All right, well, with
That's all.
this project, when it started, the church wanted a retaining wall. The house, I believe, was gonna stay, and the town was gonna pay $54,000 to have this retaining wall put in. Then the engineers, I think, decided to lower the road, so that changed. We were gonna knock down the house. They said the road was gonna be 12 foot right next to the house, so the vibration, so we tore it down. We tore it down, we paved their parking lot, we removed the fire hydrant on the corner, and that's where I thought the sign was gonna go. We did buy that right away. So I see that the sign now looks like it's gonna go by that wooden pole. But you were right, you should have more direction, more planning on how that sign's, where it's gonna be placed, even if they put flags out there like they do for locates. But we did a lot of extra work, the town did. We granted them a 6-foot sidewalk compared to 8 foot. I think 8 foot is our ordinance, so we did that. That was to make that road fit in that spot. But the town has bent over backwards. Then it came up, well, they're gonna need this fence. Okay, they changed it. Now they don't like that idea, now they wanna take the fence away, and the town was gonna be responsible for the fence. How are we gonna put up a fence, then be responsible for it when the fence was never there? So now they're changing it, now they want the sign instead. Is this gonna change again? And if Mr. Hunt would bring in the plans and everything, and like you guys defer it, it'd probably be there'd be more clarity in it. But right now, it's just not right. And is that sign that they're gonna put in, what he showed us today, is that gonna be in the right of way for the town? I mean, I don't know if you guys know that or not. Because if we bought the right of way, why are we gonna put a sign in our right of way? If that's, what's happening. But the town paid $309,000 for the house and $30,000 to knock it down. So we got a lot of money tied up in it. And when we did it, we didn't have no legal representation from our attorney. But thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from regarding this petitioner's request? Not, we'll close public comment. Mr. Hunt, if you'd like to come back to the podium, please. Any questions for Mr. Hunt?
No, I think the deferment's the way to go.
Yep. If not, we'll entertain a motion.
If I could
Please.
just address some of the comments, and I'll do the best I can to address the comments that were raised. The variances are set forth, I think, fairly clearly, but any specific questions about the variances, I can be contacted to discuss those. The right-of-way, the sign is not going in the right-of-way, just to be clear.
Well, it does list it in your variance, that's why it's been brought up. So if it's not, again, this goes back to my comment earlier that we need clear. I understand.
I did not draft the
Please,
agenda.
hold the comments, please,
So,
in the audience.
I didn't ask if the sign go in the right-of-way. It's, the plaza would be shared with the signal pole for the light. So there'd be a shared right-of-way right there at the corner. So just to clarify that issue, the sign will not go in the right-of-way.
this goes, then go back, do we need to redo this information so it's all accurate? Get us the information that we need?
But I did not put together the agenda items, so.
Well, but someone requested these variances, that's my point, so. I'm not
Correct.
trying to be
My
difficult.
request was to put it up against the right-of-way. So I apologize for any issues with clarity, but the sign is not in the right-of-way. And I'll go through a couple of the others. I understand the 93rd Street project changed multiple times. Some of that was trying to coordinate with the church. It was not, some projects are just very difficult to handle, but, and this one changed. There was a request for a fence, but given the fact that some of the town areas we didn't want the town expending further resources to try and keep up this corner when the church could do it themselves. So although the fence we thought was a good idea, it really didn't work out. And that, I think the last comment Mr. Pondinas had was the sign is not in the right of way. Like I said, it's about 3 to 5 feet off the right of way. It'll be, the requirement is 5 feet. So.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Hunt?
I would just recommend, like Mark said, clean up the variance requests and talk to town staff to get that cleared up so it's, us as board members can follow it.
In a clear plan.
Yeah.
With that, entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would
Yes.
recommend that you include, if this is part of the motion, but I think it should be made on the record, that if the board is inclined to hold open the public hearing to allow public comment at the next meeting. Make that as part of the motion, if that's
Okay.
going to be considered.
Gotcha. Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. Appreciate that. Anyone care to make a motion?
I make a motion to defer St. John Municipal Codes 24-55, 554F, 24-554F1, 24-554F2, 24-554B4, 24-492, to defer till the next month's BZA meeting and to hold open for public comment for that duration
And the public hearing.
and the public hearing.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll see you next month.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, new old business. I don't believe we have any of that, right? Someone? Yes? No? We'll open for public comment. If someone has additional comments they'd like to make. If not, adjourn.